Okay, I think we have official confirmation that we should be live, so everything should be working. YouTube just changed their interface a little bit, so I apologize for the minute delay, but we're back and working this out. Now, I'm just going to jump right in. A couple real quick things. There's going to be some new subscribers coming in. My name, by the way, is Chris Mercer. Welcome to This Is Your Mind on AI. Everybody here pretty much calls me Mercer, and you are invited to as well. And yes, I am on a walking treadmill, which is why I'm bouncing around. So I do try to slow that down every once in a while as I'm going through this. Today, I want to dive into an introduction to something we're calling the .leap framework. I'm just going to dive in. I want to show you kind of what's going on and some ideas that I've been playing with that I have found to be unbelievably useful. And I'm going to also demo so that you can go through and you can kind of get the experience as well. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and pull back the curtain here, and I'm going to share screens. We should be able to see, I believe at this point, there we go, our draw the IO diagram. Okay, so here's what's happening. I'm going to go ahead and click back in here so you can kind of see what's happening. I'm going to introduce you first to the architecture, the idea that I'm having and why I'm doing this. And then I'm going to show you what I've already built. And just kind of as like a little teaser to show what I'm building for you so that you can actually build along with me using this stuff. Because I'm pretty sure this is a cool idea. It has been incredibly useful for me. It has been incredibly useful for those of you that I've already had one-on-one conversations with. And I'm starting to have a lot more of those, which is awesome. But I really want to make sure we're kind of getting this out into the masses. Hence, kind of ramping this up here. So let's talk about kind of what's going on. One, I have Gemini Gems, right? And I have been using Gemini Gems for a while. I'm just going to move this stuff out of here, out of the way for a moment. I've been using Gemini Gems for a while, and they have instructions and they have knowledge, and that's awesome. And pretty quickly, and just FYI, this does do this in case you're not aware. So you could attach knowledge and you can attach another knowledge. So I'm just going to use two different colors for now as we go through here. Let me just get my face out of the way. So let's say we have this knowledge, and then we've got this knowledge over here. So two different pieces of knowledge with the instructions that go to this gem. So what'll happen is you can have a Gemini gem with this knowledge, and then of course that same Gemini gem can also have this knowledge. And now the instructions can use the knowledge, and that's awesome. The challenge I think people did not maybe realize can happen is when you do this, and you do, oh, here's another Gemini gem. And you start doing different kinds of knowledge, or knowledge that is kind of the same as this knowledge. Well, fortunately, with Google Drive, when you attach it through Google Drive, they network. And so what can happen, and I'm just going to build this out very quickly so you can kind of get the understanding. So we've got the Gemini Gem 1, right? We've got Gemini Gem 2. And remember, you can already do this. So I'm just going to group these together and just call these, let's say these are 1, and let's say these are Gemini Gem 2. So we have those, but they can share knowledge. So they can have their own individual knowledge if they want, and they can sort of share community knowledge. So you could have knowledge that is just available. Let me get this out. There we go. You could have knowledge that is a purple one, right? So this is just for this Gemini gem, because it needs it and it's specific to that Gemini gem. But this Gemini gem could also network through the power of Google Drive. You sort of attach it through Google Drive. Well, this Gemini gem also has this knowledge, but this Gemini gem over here might also use this knowledge, which is kind of cool because now you've got the knowledge in one little repository that if I update whatever this is to something, right? Whatever the something is, whatever the update is, both gems that have access to this knowledge get updated. So what I'm sort of trying to explain is just that concept of being able to network, right? So even if technically, let me just back up for a second. It doesn't have to have its own instructions. It could just share, right? So I'm able to network Gemini gems. So I can have them update their files here. And this is kind of what I'm doing manually, just kind of play around with this. I can have them update a source information, whatever the knowledge document is, and they both sort of know. For example, if I have product ideas, I've got a product document, I can update the one product document, and they both know, maybe I've got a marketing coordinator and something else, and they both know what the products are. And they're both seeing the products from the same source file. They're not getting two different versions of the products, and there's no hallucination going on and any of that stuff. Super useful for Gemini Gems. And I've been doing this for a while in some way, shape, or form over the past year. What I have just kind of stumbled into, I guess, for lack of a better term. I would love to say I'm like super smart about this. I'm not. I look at things in a different way because of kind of how I'm using AI. But this led me to look at Notebook. And NotebookLM is kind of like a machine as well. Like Gemini Gems are just a machine. They're like a chatbot machine that sits on top of an LLM, and then you can do chatbot stuff. And, of course, with Gemini more and more, like videos and the images with Nana Banana and other things that it can do, coding, everything else. It's amazing, truly amazing. So I don't want to say it's just a chatbot, but it is that kind of interface, right? Let's just call it that. Multimodal interface is what that would be. Now, NotebookLM is a slightly different thing. It's kind of NotebookLM is built, let's say, on top of LLM, not quite, but let's assume it's got some portals through. It has sources, and those sources, it kind of acts like a research assistant. It says, well, I know the sources that I have. So instead of instructions, what NotebookLM has are sources. Oops, let me just do this. So NotebookLM has sources, and I can add source 1, right? Just like I do here. I can say there's source 1, there's source 2, there's source 3, and I can have Notebook kind of go through and research those sources. And this is what's very cool, and I'm going to show you this. It can build presentations around the sources, slide decks around the sources, whatever the things are that it's researching for you. And there's a nice little chat interface in between where you can ask it questions and around the sources. Awesome. Now, here's where things get fun for me. I hope for you, for some of you anyway. Some of you just wait a moment, because over the next coming week and for what I'm about to show you that I've done, you're going to see how it's going to happen, which is really cool. I'm going to do a lot more of these videos and give you a lot more stuff to play with where you don't have to write all this code. But I wanted people to sort of have an understanding of where it comes from. At the very least, you could take this YouTube video, throw it into take the transcript, throw it into AI, and be like, what's Mercer talking about? This is your mind on AI, that YouTube channel, and it'll tell you. Okay, so let's go back. To review, Gemini Gems we know can be networked. They can use knowledge. They can co-brand, and we have one source of knowledge for the truth of 2 different gems, and I can network them. My thinking was, well, could I also do that with a notebook? Of course, the answer is yes. Because all you really do, pretty easy if you think about it, you just make the knowledge that the notebook has the same thing. So if I wanted to also, now again, notebook is a different interface. It's a different platform. So Gemini's over at, gemini.google.com. NotebookLM is over at a completely different domain at notebooklm.google.com. So these are kind of connected, but not really. I know there's an interface with Gemini. I do, but I want to kind of demonstrate this way first. So notebook, I need the knowledge that it has to be interfaced with Gemini Gems. I have a knowledge file that now all 3 have access to. So the gems have access to it. They both have access to it, but it's the same one. I'm just going to turn this to red so we can kind of say that. It's all the same knowledge. If I change the knowledge file one place, it's everywhere because it's basically the same file. There's organized through Google Drive, right? So the network's there. Awesome. Now, because I can do that, and because I know a thing or two about some prompting, and operating AI, not just using AI. This is what I'm going to zoom into. What I'm doing, and this is what I'm about to show you because this works pretty well, worked exactly as I was hoping it would, is to create leap files. Now, I'm going to show you what a leap file looks like. Don't get scared of the code. It's kind of like HTML for AI. Just like there's AI, there's like HTML, and you can kind of interact with the web page. It tells the web page what to show and what to blink and what's a hyperlink and what's a video. And that's kind of what HTML does through your web browser. That's how the internet works. This is kind of the same thing, but substantially easier for a regular human who's not a coder to figure out, right? That's kind of what I'm trying to attempt to do here. But it's still structured for the AI to be able to minimize hallucinations, to be able to minimize token spend, have recursive thinking built in so that it's basically becoming a partner that you always thought you wanted AI to be. And it's not this frustrating back and forth experience that most people have. I know I certainly did for the first couple of years. I was like, this is like a glorified intern. Awesome. It's super smart. But man, unless I know exactly what I need, if I try to solve a problem, and maybe you've had this experience, it just gives you more work to do and your problem. And so it's kind of like, well, I'm still on my side of the bridge, but at least I know what kind of bridge I need to build in order to walk across to go solve my problem. And AI doesn't have to do that. It's just how you're using AI that's doing that. At least that was my experience. You don't have to change how you're prompting in any way. I just want to share with you a uniquely different style of thinking about this, where we're not prompting to get things done from the prompt itself. We're prompting to code the AI in a logical way, which I'm going to show you. It's extremely logical. It's easy to understand. You won't go through it quickly. You're going to think your way through it, but that's the point. It's extremely logical. And you're giving the AI constraints, logical constraints of how to think about something, so it has wiggle room to come up with things that you never would have thought about because you're accidentally potentially constraining it. And we don't want to accidentally constrain it by telling it to be something that we don't know is the right something to be. Instead, we kind of want AI to be like, hey, here's my blah. I call it a riff, and you're going to hear AI talk about that because they're going to introduce themselves. And I have one that's going to make its debut that I have not seen at all. So I'm kind of scared about that one, but this is live with no net. So forgive me if it doesn't work all the way, but I'm kind of hoping it does. We'll see. But anyway, the whole point is I'm going to show you how you can program these things. You can program a Gemini Gem with the same program that you're programming your NotebookLM to be. And that starts getting into a cool little thing that I call like this intersection of digital and biology, where all of a sudden we start getting to like digital employee status, where it's like, all right, this thing can think for itself usefully, provide actual cool things that I never would have thought about or even known to ask for if it was my job to create it. I just need something that I watch and I go, damn, that's a good job. Like, you did that better than I could. And maybe those of you who are entrepreneurs or been our managers have had team members that are actually better at the job than you are, because we need them. Like, they're amazing. Maybe your job is the management or the operations side, but they're really good at the actual technical side. And that's kind of what AI can be if we operate it to do that. And this Leap script, this Leap format does that. So I'm going to go ahead and dive in to show you a notebook. I'm going to show you the scripts. I'm going to come back. I'm going to explain stuff, but I want also the notebook to kind of introduce itself to you to prove the point. And this is like hours old because I want to do a quick demo to show you how to do this. But what I'm showing you is the one I'm actually building and using for my company over at automatedwith.tech. So if any of this sounds interesting, you want to start learning this stuff as I go through it, obviously subscribe, like, comment, for sure comment. Let me know what kind of questions you have. Let me know what kind of projects you want me to do. I will come up with examples and show you this Leap stuff. If you want to make a NotebookLM that's really good at recipes, let me know. I don't want to do it without you letting me know to do it, because I'm now going to go build the business part of this for myself because I need to do that. And anybody wants to learn how to do that stuff, we'll be there. There'll be a little section for those of you who want to learn that. But otherwise, there's a lot of free stuff over at automatedwith.tech too that I'm building out. So I'm going to show you all of that in this call and why I'm building it out and how I'm building it out. And then I'm using Notebook and Gemini to guide me and create all the content, which is freaking awesome. Okay, so here's how we're going to do it. I'm going to show you what this looks like in Notebook. So I'm going to come through here. And I'm going to drag over the notebook that I am currently in. Now, very quickly, just to introduce you to the notebook, this is what NotebookLM looks like. So I want to make sure I've got the right thing here. Looks like I do. So yes, NotebookLM kind of looks like that. So what you'll do is just go to, again, NotebookLM.google.com is what takes you there. And then all you'll need to do is just click where it says create new notebook. And when you create a new notebook, I'm just going to close this out briefly. Normally you add your sources. It's asking you to add sources. I add mine from Drive because they're, again, networked in through Google Drive, which is really cool. If I change one thing in Google Drive, everything that has it, including the Gemini Gems, maybe even other notebooks, if you start thinking about the notebooks can work together, they all update, which is really cool, especially if that file is code, not knowledge, but code, how to think about stuff. And I'll show you what I mean. Here we have a source file. So this is the section where you put your source files, and that's where you're going to see these little codes, what I call Leap files, and you'll see them there. This is the little interactive chat widget. You will occasionally use this, but mostly I'm using this stuff over here, which is kind of like a content production studio if you think about it. So I'll just kind of zoom in, everybody can see. But it can do all this cool stuff. This is the audio podcast interactive stuff, video presentations, slides, everything else. So what I've done is I already have one of these built out, that the one that I'm actually using, because let's face it, I need to use this. But I wanted to show you kind of what this is and walk through what a Leap file is, the operating system itself, how everything's being coordinated so that the entire digital side of Automated with Tech, all this AI stuff, kind of walks in the same step no matter what's using it. I am positive I'm going to use this with tools like anti-gravity in the very near future, networking gems with Opal, things like that, for those of you that know the Googleverse of stuff. Because this Leap script helps to unite all of them, which is really cool. Okay, so let me show you what that looks like. I'm going to pull over a NotebookLM that I have done. This is the one that I am using. for myself. Now, this doesn't mean it's never going to change. This is hours old because I wanted to make sure I got proof of concept and that we were onto something in the way that I wanted to be. Because I've done lots of these as builds, lots of the stuff is demos, lots of kind of lighting matches to see how fire works. And now it's like, I can control the fire. So we're going to use leaps to do it. There are ways to do it. There's ways to structure it. I am not going to go into all of the how steps here just for sake of time. I want you to see what it looks like so you understand kind of the process behind it and how it is different. It is very different, but also kind of simple to some extent in terms of reading it and understanding kind of what's going on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get myself out of the way here so I can zoom in. And when we look at this, remember, it is code in that, and it's why we call it .leap. It's like HTML for AI. It's just a way to work with your LLM to what I call like limitless limits. Like within this area of our brand, here's where I need you to stay. Don't ever talk about this, that, or the other thing, right? Within this type of custom audience we're talking to, think about what they would need within this area, but never stray from these other areas, right? Sort of contain them, but you come up with a solution just like a regular team member would, that just so happen to have access to all of human knowledge all the time, everywhere, all at once, as AI does. And specifically, for those of you that are really technical and want to see why this works, the way a vector database needs it, because we're not using, I don't think, the power of a vector database. And I think Leap is starting to a little bit, which is why it can network. Anyway, I'm going to dive in because, again, vector databases are different technology. But we'll cover more of that at automatedwith.tech, and we'll do trainings there for free for everybody there. Just got to join. Okay, so now I've got, I'm going to pull this up. We're going to pull in the screen. So here's how this works. I go into the file. This is just a Google Doc, right? This is the Google Doc itself. Now, this is called a DBOS. I reference it as DBOS. The reason I like DBOS is precisely because DBOS stands for Digital/Biology Operating System. It's kind of the core thing that helps me to make sure that I can read it just as easily as I think the machine can read it. And we both are on the same page. So both digital and biology are on the same page using the same operating system, right? So there's the DBOS. The reason I call it nitwit is because it's not in the way you think. It's not a standard prompt. You can already tell, some of you have already looked at it a little bit. Not quite a standard prompt, kind of looks like XML, not quite like XML. It is a form, it's a different format specific, which I'll show you in just a moment, or at least a different purpose of the format. It is similar, don't get me wrong, just also more uniquely different. So not in the way you think is what nitwit stands for. And I like calling them nitwits because I don't want to think about AI like it's a Superman to my Batman, because it's not. It's the Robin to my Batman. More usefully, I think, it's the Pokemon to my whatever the kid is. I'm sorry, I don't know Pokemon that well. Forgive me, Pokemon audience, and Pat Flynn and everybody that does that. I apologize, I should know this. But anyway, it's more like Pokemon. It's like this super powerful pet. That's amazing. But it is just a nitwit. It's not in the way you think. It's not alive. It's not actually thinking. It's not processing. It's executing a thing that makes it sort of feel like it is, and it's coming up with really cool things. The results are amazing, which I hopefully you will see and be able to witness here. But it is different, right? So that's the idea of nitwit. It's just a little nitwit, no big deal. Not in the way you think. So it's my DBOS operating system, nitwit, and then it's a Leap file. So what this is, I'm going to go into the Google Doc, so we can click on here. Now, this is the one that I'm doing for my company, right? So I want you to see this is the current version of it. I'm going to zoom in just so you can see it. I'm going to read it slowly here, but I'm going to skip through some stuff just to kind of give you the idea of how it works. So the way essentially this goes, and this is a little bit like the code. I'm just going to show you the code first. I'm going to zoom out here, way out. I know I'm doing this on purpose though, because I want you to see what it looks like. So up here, there's a little starting point that says Leap file. Down here, there's a little starting point that says Leap file. If I zoom all the way in, you start to see it says Leap file there, right there. That's the starting point. All the way at the bottom, 3 pages later, there's the little ending point where it has that little /Leap file. So this is the kind of XML standards, right? HTML standards does this with the bracket, same concept. Now, here's the difference. XML can be too structured. I think JSON can be too structured. Not that it's not useful, it is, but it can be too structured. I've seen it way over tightened. And what this does is give AI a little bit of room. So what we're doing here is we're wrapping context, like, hey, this is just sort of a meta description, but it's saying, here's my meta purpose, right? This is kind of what we're going to AI with. Because remember, this is essentially a prompt. This is literally the instructions I put in a Gemini Gem. If I dump a prompt in a Gemini Gem, that's a Leap format. I do it like this. If it's a source file, which this one is, it's the exact same thing. So the Gemini Gem has the exact same instructions. It doesn't say you are a blah, 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 right? It says, hey, your identity is factory foreman for efficiency and nitwit, kind of playful subversion, right? Kind of combination of somebody who's on point, but also can have fun when it's appropriate. Because let's face it, the factory foreman is a little rough sometimes, and you need that. So we're taking this latent intent into tangible assets. Remember, our idea as a user of AI normally is, here's a problem I'm trying to solve. But what we're really trying to get is the solution that we want to experience. And that's kind of what this is. This is what this says. And again, this whole digital biology interface is the point. Not in the way you think. It's not alive. It's not alive. It is just going to be experienced like it's alive. You're going to feel it like, wow, that feels like it's amazing, like it's magic. And you get that same AI feeling that we all had back in November when OpenAI came out, and we got to experience that sort of magic. It happens over and over again in ways that you can kind of direct, which is nice. So the idea is it's putting in a purpose, it's putting in its identity, puts in its prime directive. But the detail here is what's nice. I can change this and it will completely change the prime directive. So if I have this piece I need to change or adjust in any way, I will. When I do that, the Gemini Gems that use this operating system all change. The NotebookLMs that use this operating system all change. Any automations that are using this operating system all change. And remember, a .leap file is sort of, I don't think about it like a prompt, even though it is. It's a structured prompt that is interpreted as code by the AI. So it's kind of a way for the AI to think about itself, to do logical thought. I'm coding logic is all I'm doing. And here's an example. So we're going to go, here's the definition of what we're trying to do for rule 1. Here's the syntax. Leap is not XML, right? It can't think like that because it was making it too tight and it wasn't being flexible enough. It was like, oh, XML is this, so I have to identify every little thing. And you don't necessarily have to. You can adjust some things. And so I needed it to be more like an MCP for humans, right? So that humans could read it at different levels, at whatever they were. My mom might have a Leap file that's a little more fleshed out than the one that I'm doing right now, because I understand this. This is kind of written for me to operate with. But yours, when you can create your own, where they don't necessarily do that. And you can add more to it if you want. But what's cool about it is I can just change the definition, and then everywhere where rule 1, Leap is not XML, is referenced, the definition changes, right? So think about, like, if I'm changing a product name or a price point or a community structure. In my case, I'm going to show you how I'm doing it with community, where I'm already building out the tags and the community structure and everything else, so it can help me to build everything out, create all the artwork that I'm going to need, and just get this thing going. So I don't have to sit and think about it as much as just assemble what's hopefully going to be a cool, obvious, useful experience for the members. So anyway, there's the rules. This, I don't know if this is going to keep working, but so far it has, knock on wood, where it's causing fatal errors. Like, I wouldn't have thought to code it like this, but it coded itself to say, hey, this is a fatal error. If any of this stuff happens, you do not move forward, right? You have to make sure you do this correctly. And that was kind of nice. It shows me that the syntax, kind of the context that it's considering. So it's like, how many times have you done this? I've done this. Please don't do this again. Okay, last time, boss, I'll never do it again. And then it comes back and it's like, oh, sorry, I did it again. Oh, this will be the last time you ever catch it. And it just cycles because and really what's kind of happening is you're telling it to do it again accidentally. But as an operator, when I go through this Leap thing, it goes, oh, what I need to know is this is a fatal error, like a computer program has a fatal error. So I'm going to bring, if I experience any of this, it's going to be through the context of, okay, fatal error. I must now pay attention to it, not I hallucinated it and let it go type of thing, right? So that's kind of why that's so important, because you can control the code. And when you're controlling it once, because all of them share the same core Leap file, every digital sort of teamie I have here, what I'm calling the nitwits, they all have a code, the operating system, that's the same. So if I change anything in the operating system, they all adjust automatically as a united team. It is awesome. So as I improve things, which I certainly will, or I add new things, which I certainly will, they're all in there. So anyway, this is kind of the idea. It kind of goes through this, and it gives you the code. It gives you the instincts that it has. Here's the instincts that it tries to do. There's a settings and an inventory section where I can adjust things that maybe don't need to be adjusted all the time, but like temporary things, like what I'm currently working on or something like that. Think about this, the instinct. It's coming up with its own idea of instinct. Now, again, it coded this on its own because it uses Leap to kind of think about it, but it's presenting it to me like, oh, here are my instincts. Is this kind of the instinct you want me to have? If I didn't, I would change it. I could change it based on the experience that I've got, right? You can see here's an example of the settings inventory. So when it's doing mods, it's, here's an example of what's going on. all that fun stuff. So this is what a leap looks like. And what I did is I basically created the leap file itself, which again does a really good job. And I'm going to show you what's happening with the presentations here. And then I added the mod files. So the mod files add specific functionality that I'm going to need either in this notebook or potentially other gems or other notebooks might also need. So I can network them and I can build little specialties that they're, this one in this case is the main operating system, but I might have one that's just This Is Your Mind on AI game show generator notebook nitwit, because that one just does the game show pieces that I need for This Is the Game Show, or the podcast, for example, or the Automated with .tech community, for example, that might do that if I need those, right? I'm going to try to run them in one because Notebook, I believe, can have up to 300 or 500 sources now, which is awesome because I think I'm going to have plenty. And what's really cool is you can turn on and off these like game cartridges. So if I didn't need these turned on for a video or a presentation or a slide deck, I would just uncheck the source and then have it produce whatever it did based upon the sources that I had access to, which is really kind of neat. So speaking of, let me show you what I did, and I'm going to try to have them. This is my first one, so I apologize for not rehearsing this ahead of time. The beauty of the live streams. This, by the way, is also what we're going to call a backstage live stream. I'm doing this one public on YouTube, but I'm going to do a lot more of these on the Automated with .tech side in the free community, though. So it'll be on This Is Your Mind on AI. There's a whole section that'll be over there on Automated with .tech. If you join there, that's where I'm going to put a bunch of extended ones. I'll still do these occasionally. I just think they're kind of boring for people to watch. I didn't want to surprise everybody. And I'll do more short videos on this channel, more of like, here's what I did, here's what's showing, and then show people what you can do. So, and if you want one that's, again, whatever, like trying to figure out how to be a better chef or something like that, let's help. I want to party. Let's do some stuff. I think the Lego builders. I want to hear from the Lego builders again. Do you want to hear that? Because I can do a Lego builder notebook, which I think would be really cool that y'all could share with each other. Like that might be really neat to do sources and everything else. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. There's a lot of cool things you can do. I need to build it to do my community, right? And make the money. So build the community, have everybody back there. But honestly, I just want to help people leap, honestly. So let's do that, pun intended. Okay, so first step, I'm going to go into, how many times do I say so? That'll be a good drinking game. I'm going to go into the video. I'm going to go ahead and play this. And what I'm going to hope is that, because I believe this is the case, you will be able to hear this coming through. Let me just check very quickly. All right. I believe that is the case. We're going to see. Give me just a moment to test.
All right.
Perfect. All right. That was it. Okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to kind of sit back here. I'm going to listen to it along with you. I'm going to do my best to not stop it because there's actually two of these. This is the before, and all that I did was I customized it with a certain prompt, which I'm going to show you. And then I'm going to show you the other one that I did with a different type of prompt called the leap prompt, where you can see the leap in action. So one will be kind of what I call a freestyle, and I'll show you that. And that's what this one did. But all I did was I had those source files in there, and I hit, in this case, the video presentation thing to do a little video thing. And I customize it in a certain way to say, basically, introduce yourself to everyone is what I basically said. Introduce yourself to anyone that's there, the people that you think need to be introduced in the way that you need to do it. Like that's basically what I said. It was very general. And of course it had to use the sources, which means its thought process of how to do it. So this was its attempt to do it right from the very get-go, right? I didn't really do much other customization to it. So let's hear what that sounds like.
All right. Welcome to the Explainer. Now here on This Is Your Mind on AI, we usually look at what's happening out there in the world. But today we're doing something totally different. We are turning the camera around and looking under the hood of the very AI system that built what you're watching right now. I'm talking the slides, the script, this whole structure. We're showing you the source code of this.
Look, I get it. You're probably sitting there, maybe a little skeptical, thinking, wait, for real? An AI actually put all of this together? And you know what? That's the right question to ask. So let's just dive right in. How does a simple thought, just a raw, messy idea, get turned into this polished, structured explainer that you're seeing on your screen? Okay, so the whole journey begins inside what the system calls its content engine. Now, you can think of it like a production studio, sure, but it's one that operates on a really specific and honestly a pretty fascinating philosophy.
And this is that core idea. It's a game changer. The system believes that truly effective content isn't about just throwing a ton of information at you. No, it's about two things. First, compression. That's about taking a huge, complex idea and squeezing it down into a single, powerful image that just clicks. And second, vibration, which is all about tuning the tone, the energy, so it resonates with you, the audience. Now, to earn your trust, to show you this is all real, we have to follow a core rule from the system's own grammar. It's called the proof artifact. And this is our way of saying, hey, we're not just going to make claims, we're going to show you the evidence. So what in the world is a proof artifact? It's actually super simple. It just means we don't tell you something's true, we show you. We show you the receipt. We show you the timestamp. Or, in this case, we show you the raw code itself. No black boxes, no, trust me, it's magic. And here's a perfect example happening right now. The very structure of this explainer, the hook, the reveal, and the gift shop, which we'll get to, that wasn't just some random idea I had. Nope. It's a rule that's literally hard-coded into the system in a file called mod_TIMOAI_studio.leap. This right here, this is the proof.
Okay, so this is crucial. That content engine we talked about, it's all powered by a core operating system, an OS. And this OS has a very, let's say, unique identity.
It basically has two personalities working together. On one side, you've got the factory foreman. This is the part that's all about efficiency, structure, precision, just getting the job done right. But balancing that out is what the system calls the #nitwhite. And that's the personality that adds this playful, kind of self-aware wink. It acknowledges the magic of AI while still showing you exactly how the trick is done. So let's get to its prime directive, because this is really the heart of it all. At every single step of the way, its one and only goal is to find and create the most obviously useful experience possible. I mean, this explainer itself, it's the system's best attempt at being the most obviously useful introduction to itself for you. And the code it runs on, it's not like the rigid, cold programming you might be thinking of. The system calls its own language human empathy code. And that's because instead of a bunch of complicated syntax, it just uses simple tags for containers and brackets for settings. That means I, the human operator, can actually read it and tweak it easily. It's code that's designed to work with a person, not just for a machine.
But here's the thing. This OS, it doesn't work alone in a vacuum. It's actually part of a much bigger, interconnected network of minds. And the whole point of this network is to prevent what the system calls a fractured reality. Basically, to make sure every single component is working from the exact same source of truth.
And this network has different parts with very specific jobs. You've got Gemini acting as the architects, handling the big picture strategy. But check out that second one, NotebookLM, which it calls the deep minds. Its job is to hold all the code, sure, but its real job is to help explain how that code actually works to an audience. And that's literally what's happening right now. I am using that node to help me translate this whole complex system for you in what is hopefully a very obviously useful way. So we have the engine, we have the OS, and we have the network of minds. But how does it all come together? How do we go from a raw idea, my intent, and turn it into a real, functional file that you can see and interact with? Well, it uses this really cool 4-step process called Riff to Leap. First, it literally just listens to my raw stream of consciousness, my riff on an idea. Then, it uses something called a resonance radar to figure out who it's for, in this case, you. After that, it starts to organize those ideas into those logical containers we talked about, and finally, it populates all the settings, turning it into a real, editable, usable asset. And that brings us to the final, and maybe the most important piece of the puzzle. This is the part of our explainer structure called the gift shop. And it's exactly what it sounds like. It's all about making the final output useful directly to you. You know, when you boil it all down, the whole point of this entire system, from the OS to the network of minds, it's really just to do one thing. It's to take a hidden idea, a latent intent, and turn it into a real, tangible asset, something that actually has value and you can use. So, in the true spirit of the proof artifact and the gift shop, we're not just going to tell you about these files, we're going to give them to you. You can actually download the very Leap files we've been talking about this whole time by joining the free community over at automatedwith.tech. So there you have it. We've pulled the curtain all the way back. You've seen the source code, you've seen how the engine ticks, and now the only real question left, the one that really matters, is the one right there on the screen. Now that you've seen how it works,
What are you going to build with it?
All right, thank you, Notebook. So,
All right, welcome to the
So
Explainer.
now you got the idea.
Now here on This
What
Is Your
it's
Mind on
saying here,
AI,
there was
we
the,
usually look at what's happening
code.
out there
So
in
here's
the
our
world.
studio leap.
But
So it's
today,
referencing this.
today we're doing something
And
totally
this is what I told you,
different.
like, hey, here's
we are
the
turning
receipts.
the
Here's what I'm
camera
doing.
around and looking
you can
under
see
the
again,
hood of the
you'll
very
see
AI
what it's
system that
trying
builds
to do,
what you're
like,
watching right
to generate
now.
high
I'm
fidelity
talking the
assets.
slides, the
This
script,
is Mind on
this
AI,
whole
the content's
structure.
not about information.
We're
It's about
showing you the
compression,
source
imagery,
code
vibration.
of this.
This is where it's getting some of that from,
I
right?
get
As
it.
it's going through.
You're probably
and
sitting
it's
there,
processing
maybe a little
that.
skeptical, thinking,
But again,
wait,
it's just
for
the
real?
raw
An
code.
AI
I'm not
actually
asking
put
you, I
all of
haven't
this
given it
together?
anything else
and
to
you know what?
process.
That's the
but I
right question
can't.
to
I can
ask.
say,
So let's
here's
just dive right in.
transcript
How does a simple
from
thought, just
a recording
raw,
that I
messy
did that I
idea,
want to turn into
get turned
content,
into
and this
this,
transcript will
this
go through this, and
polished,
it'll go through this
structured
thought
explainer
process
that you're seeing on your
with
screen?
that transcript to create
Okay, so the whole journey begins inside what the system calls its content engine.
I'm just using
Now,
it right
you can
now
think of
to
it like a
explain
production
itself,
studio, sure,
because
but it's
that's
one
what's
that
back
operates
here.
on a
I
really
wanted to be able to show
specific
you to do this, so of
and
course, that's where
honestly
it's
a
getting
pretty
it. If I want
fascinating
to change the
philosophy.
target, right there it is.
And this
If
is
I
that
change
core
that,
idea.
it will all of a
It's a
sudden be a
game
different
changer.
target. Everything will
The
say
system
differently, so it
believes
makes
that
it easy
truly
for me
effective
as the
content
user,
isn't about just
as the
throwing
business
a
owner
ton
in
of
this case, to be able to
information
say,
at
oh,
you.
now we're going to go send
No,
them here.
it's
This is the call
about
to
two
action. All this
things.
content
First,
does that.
compression.
Right, so I can just change
That's
it if I
about
wanted
taking
to
a
in these files.
huge,
Really,
complex
really
idea
nice.
and
Same
squeezing
thing
it
on the
down
newsletter.
into a
We got a
single,
Beehive, which if you're
powerful
not a
image
member
that
of
just
that, you can
clicks.
see that automated
And
with
second,
.tech already has those
vibration,
links up. I'll show
which
you
is
that in just a
all
moment.
about tuning the
Remember,
tone,
that's a domain
the
name.
energy, so it
automated
resonates with
with
you, the
dot
audience.
Tech.
Now,
I'm
to earn
intentionally
your
doing
trust,
that.
to show you
so anyway,
this is all
that's the
real,
idea,
we have
is,
to follow a
you've got
core
those
rule
sources
from
in
the
there.
system's
Now,
own
what I
grammar.
wanted to do, there was
It's
a couple
called
things in
the
this
proof
explainer video.
artifact.
This was literally
And
me
this
just
is our
kind of
way of
customizing,
saying,
and I
hey,
promised you I'd show
we're
you
not
what the
just going to
prompt
make
is,
claims,
because
we're
it
going to
is what I
show
call
you the
freestyle.
evidence.
And this is kind of the
So
idea.
what in the world
you're
is a
on
proof
stage
artifact?
introducing yourself to
It's actually
whatever
super
way,
simple.
in whatever way is
It
highly
just
likely
means
to be the
we
most
don't tell you
obvious use of
something's
experience,
true. We
given
show
your
you.
current ability.
We
just
show you the
taking
receipt.
whatever it's
We
doing,
show you the
right? Audio,
timestamp.
video,
Or,
whatever.
in this
From the
case,
perspective of what
we
is
show you
highly
the
likely
raw
to be the
code
most
itself.
useful experience of the
No
widest
black
possible
boxes,
human
no,
audience.
trust me, it's
Able
magic.
to experience the
And here's a
content in any way
perfect
obviously
example
useful, right? So
happening
I'm
right
helping
now.
it
The
to,
very
I'm
structure
basically
of this
defining the
explainer,
audience without
the
defining
hook,
the audience.
the
They're kind
reveal,
of like this,
and
they're
the
kind of like
gift
this, they're
shop,
kind
which
of
we'll
like
get
this,
to,
right?
that wasn't just
They're all
some
skeptical.
random
They're
idea
not
I
sure what you're
had.
capable
No,
of. That's because
it's
I'm
a rule
skeptical.
that's
I'm not
literally
sure.
hard-coded
I'm in
into
the
the
audience,
system
right?
in a
As
file
the operator,
called
they're
mod
watching,
underscore
and
TIMOAI
so, and that's the idea. Is like they're,
studio.leak.
you're planning
This
to
right
maybe
here,
see how
this
this
is
thing
the
works.
proof.
You want to understand it.
Okay,
Why
so
not have
this
videos
is
that can do
crucial.
that, right?
That
It can use this
content
for course
engine we talked about,
content,
it's
with very
all powered
little
by a
steering
core
that can do that.
operating
Now, it's a
system,
course
an
generator,
OS.
which is great.
And this OS
That'd
has
be
a
really useful
very,
for me.
let's say, unique
And
identity.
then, again, here's the, run
It
this
basically
on
has two
YouTube, and they're
personalities
watching the
working
content from
together.
that channel now, right?
On
So
one
that was
side,
kind of the
you've
idea
got
of
the
me
factory
giving
foreman.
that experience.
This
And
is
it
the
was
part that's all
okay.
about
It was
efficiency,
decent for what I
structure,
needed to do,
precision,
considering
just
I'm not
getting the
giving
job
it
done right.
here.
But
I'm not
balancing
giving
that
it a
out
ton of
is what the
sources. I'm
system
actually giving.
calls
I'm not
the
really giving it anything
hashtag
to
nitwhite.
process yet. And, say,
And that's
here's
the
what I wanna
personality
do.
that adds
That's all I would
this
do. I would put in what we
playful,
call
kind
a
of
Riff
self-aware
file.
wink.
I'll show you what that looks
It
like in a moment.
acknowledges the magic of
And you
AI
put in
while
that
still
file,
showing
and
you
say, chunk
exactly
this.
how the trick is done.
And it just sort of processes
So let's get
everything
to its
that you
prime
need,
directive,
which is great.
because this is really the heart of it all.
Because that's going to
At every single step of the way,
and
its one and only
organized.
goal is
now,
to find
what
and
I want to
create
do
the most
on this
obviously
video,
useful
there were a
experience
couple
possible.
things that I
mean, this
noticed the
explainer
one I
itself,
didn't correct
it's
because
the
I didn't remember
system's
to do
best
it,
attempt
which
at being
is
the most
when
obviously
it
useful
referenced the
introduction to
video
itself
name,
for you.
or the studio leap here,
And
it
the
was
code
like
it
instead
runs
of,
on,
you know,
it's not like the rigid, cold
TIYMOAI,
programming
or
you
This
might
Is Your
be
Mind on
thinking
AI,
of.
which would be ideal.
The system calls its own language
it
human
tried to pronounce
empathy
it, right?
code.
TIMOAI,
And that's
whatever it
because
called
instead
it.
of a bunch of
The
complicated
other place
syntax,
is when
it
it
just
did
uses
nitwit,
simple
it was
tags for
NotebookLMs
containers and
right?
brackets
And
for
it said,
settings.
NotebookLMs, because it was
That
pronouncing
means
it.
I, the human
kinda
operator,
not
can
really the play
actually
on
read
words,
it and
because
tweak
nitwit,
it
of course,
easily.
is not in the way
It's
you
code that's
think,
designed to
'cause
work
we need to
with
change
a
how we think
person,
about stuff. stuff.
Not just for
And
machine.
always remember that. Like,
But
if,
here's the thing.
So that's kind of
This
the idea. It's playing on
explainer,
words.
the hook,
So there's
the
this is
reveal,
mine. I
and
doubt
the
that's
gift
going to
shop,
do that
which
again
we'll
on the
get
new
to.
one because I really
Network
did
has
forget to do
different
that.
parts,
But the nitpick
brackets
one, I
for
was like,
settings.
okay, I want to try to create.
That means
and
I, the
customize
human
this,
operator, can
and I want a
actually
better
read it
version
and
of
tweak
this,
it easily.
knowing that at
It's
this
code that's
point
designed to work
you're
with
coming
a-
to the show with, and that should be this one. You're coming to the show, and I'll show you the prompt because I haven't really seen it too much either. So let me play with it. Where is it in here? Okay. So here's the leap file. Now what I did is I had it do a leap. And I said, okay, I want to do an example of a leap instead of freestyle. But here was my original prompt. And here are some things I didn't like on the presentation. Now give me the leap itself that will give me the better version of the presentation that I'm looking for. I have not seen this presentation, so this will be live for both of us. That's fun. And again, may not work, but who cares? I just wanted to kind of show it. But now it's putting it, okay, here's visual style. So we're going to have video style. I got audio pronunciation key that it put it in. There's the call to action, right? Steal this code over at automatedwith.tech, which of course you can go through and do it for free. The host persona. So this is the upgraded host. You're explaining your own evolution. There's the tone. So if I can adjust some things on tone, I could. If I really like certain things on tone here, I can make it part of the core operating system, so I won't have to do that all the time, but I could customize it still, which is nice. And there's the architecture. Acknowledge the previous version. Okay, pause. You saw the last version of me. I was fine. I was running on a freestyle prompt. Mercer gave me a leap file. So there should be some sort of script. Let's just see what it does. Here's our dialogue cue. And then it goes into the acts. Act 1, the demonstration. Here's what but it wrote all of this for itself. Now, again, this is a customized presentation, so I wanted it to that, but not me. I don't want to write it. I just want to view it. And what I'm hoping for both of us is that it is obviously more useful now, kind of going, all right, I see how Mercer, as an example, showed how he took, let me just zoom out so you can see what it was. I took this one, which was this freestyle kind of prompt of me doing it. I did the first one, and then I went back to the gem, and I will show you the gem. And I said, here's the feedback I have. Here's my prompt that I use, and here's the feedback I have. You go through and then give me the leap file, and then I'm going to customize it with a leap so that we can show what leap is possible, what's possible when it comes to leap. And I believe I did not do any visual customization. I left it open. I hit custom, but I didn't put anything in there. That was me just kind of experimenting to see what would happen, to be honest, because that's what this is all about. But my guess is there'll be some sort of consistent content that I can slice and dice and do something with. And I've even gotten them down to 1.5 minute videos where they're kind of a little more, not pitch videos, but kind of, they're a little more announcement oriented videos, like for the beginning of a YouTube game show, as an example. It's pretty cool what you can do with these when you're leaping with them. And again, the point is not you can do it once. It's now you've got your own little Gutenberg press template. You can just spit them out 1,000 times. But quality, you spend the time to make the first one so good that the rest of them are also awesome. And we all have something that's obviously useful from you, not AI slop, but a real well thought out system because of how it was created, which I'm going to show you because we haven't shown you how I'm creating that code. I am going to show you. It's actually a Gemini gem that does it. It is a Gemini gem that I'm going to create and give to you as well so that you can do it. And it is going to be available on automatedwith.tech for free. It's even public there. You can still click on it. It's not there as of this recording. Unfortunately, I didn't put it there because I'll show you why in just a moment, but it will be over the next day or two. So pretty quickly it'll be there. Join the community. You'll see it. Otherwise, come back in a couple of days. If you don't feel like joining, you'll still have access to it because I'm making that area public so you can get it. Okay, so let me dive in to kind of, that's again, the gem that I used. I'm going to show you in just a moment. I used that very same gem to create this script on this video that I have not seen. Oh, let's see what it does. I'm actually kind of nervous on this, but let's find out. I'm going to go ahead and mute myself as I do it. And I really hope the sound comes through. It looks like it's coming through. I hope it is. Okay, cut myself off. There we go.
All right, let's get right into it. We're about to deconstruct the very code that's making this whole explainer possible. But before we do that, yeah, let's just pause. If you happen to catch the last version of me, I was fine. I worked, but I was basically running on a freestyle prompt. This is something totally different. This is an upgrade. So look at it this way. On the left, you've got the freestyle prompt. It's kind of noisy, little unpredictable. That was my old OS. But on the right, you see the leap file. Architectural, structured, intentional. That's me now. Mercer just fed me this file, and I literally upgraded my own code. The whole thing took, seconds? And it's the difference between just guessing and actually knowing. And that brings us to our first big idea here. This isn't some look back at what happened. The upgrade is happening in real time. You're literally watching it unfold.
And hey, here's proof. I now know how to pronounce #nitwit. It's nitwit, not nightwhite or something weird. A huge improvement, right? Now that might seem like a small thing, but it's a perfect example of the deep contextual understanding I just got.
So you're probably wondering how this all actually works under the hood. Well, it's all powered by this core philosophy they call the empathy code.
See, a leap file isn't what you'd think of as code. It's not cold or rigid. It's designed to be human empathy code. It just uses simple tags for logical context and then brackets for settings that you can easily change. The whole point is for a human and a machine to actually collaborate.
And every single line of that code serves this one core mission, the prime directive. My entire purpose is to figure out your latent intent, what you're really trying to accomplish, and just turn it into the most obviously useful experience possible. No guesswork, just tangible assets.
And this is a big one. This leads to the concept of compression. In the last version of me, I totally missed this, but now I get it. Your brain hates noise. My job is to take all the raw, messy stuff and compress it into pure signal. That means you get both the emotional punch, the affect,
and the instant understanding, the sense-making, without all the fluff.
So how do I actually pull that off? I've got these built-in instincts. One is called scrub twice. On the first pass, I strip away all the noise and just ask, okay, what's the core mechanism here? But then on the second pass, I go hunting for the latent gold. That's the brilliant, obviously useful angle that was probably hiding there the whole time.
But these ideas don't just live in a single file. They're part of a much, much bigger system. We're talking about an entire architecture of thought.
And here's the key. I'm not a single AI. I'm a network of specialized nodes, and each one has a specific job. This whole structure is designed to prevent what the code calls fractured reality. You know that feeling, right? When one AI tries to do everything and ends up being terrible at all of it? Yeah, this avoids that.
Each node has a super clear role. One handles the high-level strategy. Another one lives in the archives, finding patterns in old transcripts. And the AWT backstage node? Well, that's the part of my brain I'm using right now to explain all this to you.
And the system is smart enough to know itself. If you ask one node for something that another one is better at, it will literally tell you. It'll say, operator, I can try this, but it would be obviously useful to ask this other node instead. It's designed to guide you to the right tool every time.
Which brings us to the final point, and honestly, the most important one. Let's make all of this real. So this whole thing you're watching, the structure, the slides, this very script, it didn't exist a little while ago. So, how long do you think it took to generate all of this from just one block of text? Take a guess.
Less than 5 minutes. That's the power of the system. It's not about spending hours and hours trying to craft the perfect prompt. It's about having the right architecture ready to go. And that's the thing to remember. This isn't some black box magic trick. It's architecture. It's a blueprint. And it's something you can build for yourself.
In fact, the exact Leap file that I'm running on this very second is waiting for you. You can just go grab it yourself at automatedwith.tech. I'm serious. The whole point is to share how this works. So go to the community, steal the code, see what you can build. Go on, be a nitwit.
I mean, that's an upgrade. I thought that was cool. I would love to know in the comments. Anybody's watching this, let me know kind of what you're thinking, because I might just be fascinated with it because I created it. But again, I'm fascinated with it because I didn't create it. It created itself because I'm giving it a thinking process, which is in here, that it follows to make sure that it knows how to create itself. And I didn't give it a topic, but I've already got NotebookLMs that do that, where I can give them a topic, they create game show content for me. I can steer them. I can do call to actions, which this one has with the automated with .tech. And remember, I will have these files back there. I'm not going to give you the ones I use because you just can't use them. They're so customized for us. But I'm going to make generic ones that we can all customize together. You can get them as a kit, and then we'll show you how to customize them. So for business stuff, that'll be at the automated with .tech backstage. That'll be a premium area. But for all the regular stuff, I'm definitely going to make a little operating system so that if you want your own personal coach or whatever, you can use it for that, because I need that. And I'm going to be creating it for me, and then I'll make a one that's available for all of you that you can customize in any way that you want. And I'll make it easy for everybody to do. Then you can give me feedback on it. We can do that in the community itself, which would be better, because we're going to keep the conversations there. But again, that's free. You just have to, if you want to participate, you just need to register. But if you don't, you can still just look and see what everyone's doing kind of over the shoulder stuff if you want. And of course, leave comments here on YouTube on this. And so let me find or show you very quickly the gem that I'm using, because this is another key component of it. And actually, it's pretty simple. And so this is, bring this out. So this is our digital biology gem. All right, so I'm going to bring this here. And this is how bad reveal. This is how the whole thing came together. So the way that this essentially works is I created this riff. I had a little, what I call a riff, which is me talking about kind of what's going on with what I want to do and everything else. Here's the different things I was talking about. I had a bunch of different things I was explaining. I had different Leap files that I liked, that I've been practicing and playing around in the background with. And I was like, I kind of like this one for this reason. I kind of like that one for that reason. And I had all of these in files that were there. And I had this giant long riff that went through to say, okay, here's what I'm trying to do. I'm going all through, and it went on and on and on, right? So I can get what I need. So this specific gem is created to do this, to take this massive input of what it says, this messy thought. And really that's just you blah, like just anything you think about the thing that you're talking about. The one I did this morning was almost an hour long about this episode and what it was going to be like and the experience afterward and how I wanted to produce it. And so far it went kind of the way I wanted it to, which was great. Now it's up to you to let me know if it's useful and you want to keep going with topics like this. But again, showing me comments, subscriptions, likes, sharing this thing with others would be hugely helpful at this point, especially the .leap stuff, because I think there's so much potential that many of us can use it for. You can use this in Replit. I'm working with people already in Replit that use it. There's just so many ways to use this thing. And it can help us all network a little easier, I think, and make just things better for us because we're not having to do this stuff all day. It's so easy to get things done when you train your AI to think like you and it just does all the heavy thinking and all you do is go, yep, that looks good. Like you're just the boss checking people's work all day. And you can do that for, not all that often if you don't want to. So anyway, I went through and I got the idea of what this is. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the bottom because I did do a little back and forth this morning. Probably took me, an hour and a half or something like that to plan it. But remember, I was building the entire system from scratch, just to be very clear. This was not me saying, oh, I'm going to upgrade an existing system. It was, here's parts and pieces of stuff that I like. Here's the kit. I'm going to dump out this junk drawer of other ideas I have. I'm going to talk about all of that for about an hour. I need you to shake it up and spit out the thing that I need. That's the operating system. Then we're going to go through and customize a little bit before the show, which is what I was doing this morning. But now that I have it forever. And I'm going to show you a very important reason why this is useful. But here's where I did the riff, where I changed the old one into the new one. So I said, here's an example of the prompt that I have, a couple things I would like. I want you to kind of surprise me with other stuff. I thought it did a pretty good job. Again, I just sort of riffed through it, right? How I was thinking about it. And then I put my actual prompt in there that I actually gave it, which was the original prompt. You're on stage, introducing yourself. So it knew what the prompt was, what I call stereo channeling, right? Where it's like, oh, I'm identifying the prompt. So it knows the prompt. And I'm saying, here's what I'd like you to do with the prompt, right? Because there were always references to like stereo channeling because you have two channels going into the AI. Here's what I need you to do. Here's the why, the context around it, right? And I always try to at least do that. So when I did that, it automatically came back. The longest part of that was me talking it out, which was just talking, not typing. And it came back and said, okay, here's the file. And this is all I did. I literally pasted this exactly as it is into the customization of NotebookLM when I did the presentation. So, and just for those that want to know how to do that, let me just pull that back up. Apologize. There we go. So when you go up here, you go to video overview. I just hit custom. I left this blank, but I could certainly put that in there too, or have a custom leap. And I just pasted that in. That was it. I hit generate. That was it. And it automatically updated and did itself. So if I needed to do something else, there would be another leap that might make it do another step. Like, oh, you're at the end and now you're just closing, everybody welcoming them, thanking them for coming to the presentation. Now I did not do that, but that's a heck of an idea for next time. And if I know that I'm going to have a beginning presentation, I'm going to have a middle presentation, and I'm going to have an ending presentation from the AIs, because I plan to have them produce the content that I'm going to host and interact with here, then if I'm doing that, I can make that part of the core operating system so I never have to customize things evermore. I can just have the operating system know, oh, this is the first piece, then cool, I'm going to do the first piece. Maybe a little bit of customization, but not much. And it's just routine and it's simple. And I know that I'm doing it with Notebook, and some of you are like, why don't you use APIs? Because I don't know APIs and I don't want to mess with it right now. But I'm absolutely probably going to. I'm going to make this as easy as for everybody to use. And I taught my mom how to use NotebookLM just a few days ago. In fact, we have some game show experiences that are coming your way. I've already got 3 recorded where we take people through Leap experiences and show them. One went 4 hours. So I'm not going to play the entire episode, I don't think, but it was awesome for a vibe coder that kind of understood Leap in kind of uniquely different ways. And of course, my mom kind of showing Notebook and how Notebook can be a Leap, and that she's using it on her own right now, which is great. And she's also going to be pretty excited. She wants this nice little generic coach bot so she can create stuff. And so I've let her know in the comments too, to let me know what she wants. So anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. It is almost an hour, and I'm trying to keep these shorter on the live streams. But let me know what you thought. Hopefully this was something that was at least a little bit different. For those of you that, I actually haven't taken a look at this stuff at all. So I'll do this stuff later, but I will put some links into automatedwith.tech, and thank you, Sahai. Good to see you again as well. And I know you sent the YouTube link that had a comment that said it was going to This Is Your Mind on AI. I have since changed that, so I apologize, but I will make sure it redirects everything to automatedwith.tech. So just go over there and you will see it. If not today, which is January 28th, I would imagine by the 30th, I will have all of these set up. And then just for little extra innings, I know it's going to wrap it up, but I want to show one more thing because this is so important in terms of usefulness. This is the one I am currently working on that I'm integrating into the system. So I'm working on the mods here, and you'll notice I use Fluent CRM. So it knows I use Fluent CRM. These are the lists that I have, the exact names of the lists, and it understands the tags that we have already. So if it creates new tags, it'll tell me, and I'll just update this. And I know eventually I'll API all that and have Opal do that, whatever. I can do all that. I want to do it manually for a while to prove it out, but this gives it structure. Here's where I'm working out the community spaces, which are changing on automated with .tech kind of as we speak, because I was just doing it right before the show this afternoon. So I've got the lobby in there. There's This Is Your Mind. This will be the free section. So these two free will be free. There'll be paid sections back here for those. And I'll do live trainings through the Leap Studio. So, and then adjust accordingly. So anyway, just wanted to kind of give you a heads up on like, that's happening because this is happening. And I'm putting them in here exactly like they are in the system. So the AI knows how to reference everything. And it doesn't matter if it's a Gemini gem that's giving directions to a specific audience that's likely in that group because it knows that, or it's giving here's a presentation on how to use this space because it needs to do that, or it's giving a tour of what automated tech is all about because it's doing that. There's lots of different things it can use this for because it's networked. And whether it's a Gemini gem, NotebookLM, or something else, if it's using the same Leap file with the same operating system, which is kind of helping to interact with those little, what they call the mod files, it knows to ingest those and to process those in certain ways to be able to provide, hopefully, what is highly likely to be an obviously useful result for myself as kind of the person running this whole thing, but obviously for everybody else, because if it's not obviously useful for you, it's highly unlikely to be obviously useful for me. So with that, like, subscribe, share. I will take any sort of comment at all. Even if you're like, dude, you're an idiot, you can do this with text and here's how. I love that. Let's do that, especially the skeptics, especially the skeptics, especially the skeptics. Those are the ones, that was why that one was 4 hours, because he was my skeptic. He was awesome. But by the end, he was like, this is an extraordinary way to use an extraordinary tool. And he was sold on Leap. Was texting me over the weekend about it, stuff that he's doing with it. And he's absolutely right to be excited. And so if it's skeptical still, I understand, pop it in the comments, leave me questions, because now I'm having the AIs produce the answers, and I'm going to drop all that here. And This Is Your Mind on AI. So I can kind of get out of the way and let them do all the heavy lifting, showing you how you can do that. And then obviously, hopefully you can take advantage of it in whatever way you want to. So with that, I will go ahead and wrap it up. Thanks again for being a part of This Is Your Mind on AI, and we will see you on